This is the almost timely newsletter for the week of November 12th, 2023. Content authenticity statement. Okay, so 100% of the content of this newsletter is generated by me, the human. However, the voice transcript that I used to write a good chunk of the opening has been transcribed using the Whisper model, which is, of course, a language model. And then I used Google's Bard just to clean up the grammar and the weird things, little speech things that I say, so that it comes out as coherent text. So it is processed by AI, but it is original content. What's on my mind this week? Getting started with OpenAI's custom GPTs, aka custom Chat GPT. It was it was a ridiculous week this week in generative AI, particularly with the announcements from OpenAI and the debut of their newest products. And they talked about a whole bunch: GPT-4V Turbo with 128,000 token context window. 60% off pricing on pretty much everything in the APIs, the new Assistants API, and of course, the one that we're going to focus on today, custom GPTs. We're going to talk about what they are, what it means, what you can do with it, and how to get started. Now, if you are reading this in the text newsletter, you will probably want to watch the YouTube video at some point because I'm going to screen share the process of setting one of these things up. So just be advised that what's in the printed newsletter will not be as complete as what you can see on YouTube. So custom GPTs, the product in question is kind of a fine-tuned model you can build and customize on your own with, well, I was going to say with no coding, but that's not entirely true. So custom GPTs comes in two flavors. The no code, no technical skill version is called the custom GPT. The technical version is called Assistants API. They're essentially the same thing, but custom GPTs are for non-technical people who don't want to write code, and it can only be used inside of OpenAI's ecosystem. So it looks like ChatGPT, and you're on the OpenAI domain, et cetera, and that's the version that is super easy. For the technical person, Assistants API is the one to use. That it has the same setup basically, but it allows you to use it as an API on other websites. So for example, you could build a great custom GPT and you're like, gosh, I would love it if I could put this on my website with my branding and my colors and all that stuff. You would replicate what you did in custom GPT in the Assistants API and then work with your technical people to integrate that into your website. So that's the difference between these two things. They are the same engine under the hood, but they have different applications. This is an important distinction. OpenAI has recently been offering its services in those two flavors, technical and non-technical. ChatGPT used to have a predecessor, it still does, that very few people used, called the Playground, where you could interact with one of the GPT language models and test it out. You could do that as early as GPT-3, which was the Da Vinci model. And then there was GPT 3.5 and now GPT-4 and GPT-4V and GPT-4 Turbo. They're all in the Playground. The reason why the Playground never caught on is because it's intended mainly for developers. And as a result, not super user-friendly. There's a bunch of controls and dials and knobs, and people are like, I don't know what those things are. I'm not going to touch it. Whereas ChatGPT, super user-friendly. That was what was rolled out a year ago. It's hard to believe it's actually been just about a year. And since then, OpenAI has making good efforts to offer a technical and a non-technical version of its services. So let's talk about what a custom GPT is. Custom GPTs are essentially variants of ChatGPT, right? They're a version that you customize with your own prompts, your data, your add-ons to have it be more focused on a particular task. A custom GPT is a version of ChatGPT that you tailor to focus on one task and get really good at it, better at it than you can do with prompting alone. For example, suppose you want to create a custom GPT that writes in a very specific tone of voice. Maybe it's your tone of voice. Prior to custom GPTs, there were a couple of ways you could have done that, right? You might have had some really lengthy prompts explaining what your writing style is, what your tone of voice is, maybe some short examples, but you would run into limitations, right? After a while, it would kind of forget that stuff and it would change its style. Or you could do a very, very technical tuning of the model or do a prompt efficient fine tune or LoRa or a bunch of very technical things that were not accessible to the non-technical person. Now, we demoed an example of this on the Trust Insights live stream we made a primitive version of a Katie GPT, my partner and CEO, with the fine tuning facilities built in OpenAI, and it did a good job. But boy, was it a lot of hoops to jump through. Custom GPTs now allow you to do the exact same thing, more or less, but no coding, right? No technical hoops to jump through. You will still have prompts and you'll still have examples, but you're going to now be able to provide many, many more examples and take different kinds of actions, etc. So before we dive in, one other important thing about these custom GPTs in both flavors, you can, once you've built it, you can use it yourself. You can share it with a link, like to your department, your team, etc. So you could build a custom GPT for your team, your company, or you can share it with the public. Just let people use it. And according to OpenAI, at some point in the next month, this is being recorded again in November of 2023. At some point in the next month or so, they will have a store, an app store, essentially, where you can publish your custom GPT like an app to sell. And they take a cut of the revenue, you get a cut of the revenue, and everybody makes a little bit of coin on this thing. So start thinking about what kind of custom version of ChatGPT you could make that someone might be willing to pay some money for. There are two things that will determine the quality of the custom GPTs that you create and sell, maybe. The first, your data. Your data. Boy, do you need data. Custom GPTs are fueled by the specificity and the detail of the prompts that you create with them and the associated data you provide them. The better quality and quantity of the data you put into the system, the better it will perform that task. And this is really important for content marketers, for creators, for every kind of company. You have lots of data that is not on the internet, right? ChatGPT and all public language models are trained on publicly available data. So things like Common Crawl and archive.org, etc. That's public stuff. How much stuff do you have at your company or in your life that is not public, that's not publicly accessible, but could be used to help out with business? You might have piles of strategy documents laying around. Maybe you've done a bunch of marketing strategy and you've never published them online, but you have them. Could you create a custom GPT that encapsulates your strategic knowledge, your point of view, in a way that others could not replicate, right? That would be quality and quantity data. Do you have social media data? Do you have census data? What sort of things do you have that maybe aren't easily put together, but you could inside of a custom GPT? Even if you took publicly available data sets, part of what makes this a powerful tool is the curation. You don't just load it all in. That's what the public models did. They took everything in. With custom GPTs, you are essentially influencing their capabilities by saying, here's what I want you to check first. This is more important information than everything that you think you know. So even if you were just curating specific information, your version of ChatGPT would probably behave better, right? Say you were working in virology and immunology. Let's be honest, there's a lot of crap information about immunology, about viruses and vaccines on the internet. There's a lot of unscientific garbage out there. If you were to load up a custom GPT with only peer-reviewed, credible scientific research, it would perform better, right? Because you would be saying, hey, check this stuff first, not your Uncle Bob's random Facebook posts ranting about so-and-so. No, here's peer-reviewed stuff from Nature magazine and Cell magazine and all the scientific journals. Rely on this first. So even if you're using public data, just your curation of that data, quality and quantity really matters with these things. Second factor, the quality and quantity of your ideas, right? your ideas are important. Your data is important, but your ideas are even more important because you're making a language model. Essentially, you're making a language model app, really, that is predicated on you having ideas about what you want this thing to do. Great ideas, great creativity, great imagination is going to create great outputs because the GPT models are going to help you build this thing and run this thing, but it's still got to be a good idea, right? If you built a GPT model and you said, hey, I want this model to just count 1, 2, 3, it will do it. That's not a great idea, right? That's not super compelling. And so, what are the ideas that you could have? Things. In fact, let's go ahead and switch over into demo mode. And I'll just show you a couple of examples of what they include. So we're in the Chat GPT interface here. They have things like game time, the negotiator. I'll help you advocate for yourself and get better outcomes. Become a great negotiator. A creative writing coach. A tech support advisor. A laundry buddy. Right? You can see how these are kind of like custom advisors, custom apps. What are you good at? What are you good at? What do people ask you for help with? You, like you personally. What do people ask you for help with? Do you have data in machine readable format? Do you have your writing or your thoughts or transcripts of you speaking? Could you build a custom chat GPT that behaves like that thing that you're good at? And if it works well, could you sell it? Would people pay money to the app version of you, your digital twin? Drew Davis calls it your digital doppelganger. Could you create something like that that was specialized, that could do that thing only or predominantly? That's the value of these things. So you need data and you need ideas, and you need both in high quality and high quantity to make this thing work for you. All right, enough with the intro. Let's get into it. You go into your ChatGPT account, you hit that explore button on the left-hand menu. Let's put the rest of that menu away. And you'll see here that this should be available now to all accounts. Create a GPT. Go ahead and tap on that. And you're greeted with your new GPT template. Now there's two ways to build one of these. One is have a conversation with it and it will build it. And two is you can, if you know what you want to do, if you have existing prompts and outcomes that you want, you can just manually load it up. This, by the way, if you've heard me talk on this topic over the last few years, this is why I told you to keep a prompt library, a library of your best prompts and the outcomes. Because guess what? You can now repurpose your best prompts, turn them into apps, turn them into ChatGPT apps. So if you've got a prompt that works great, turn it into an app. Just find it in your prompt library. And if you have not been keeping a prompt library, this is what it's for. Right? Yes, in addition to sharing it with your team, now if you've got a prompt that it just knocks it out of the park, you build an app around it. Right? So your ideas, quality and quantity. So let's do this the super non-technical version. We're going to do a create. And this is purely a conversation that you have with ChatGPT. So I'm going to start typing here and we'll say, I want to make a ChatGPT custom instance, a custom GPT of myself. I want to make a digital twin, Christopher Penn. I will upload a writing sample of my writing, quite a lot of it, so that you can read it and understand my writing style, my tone of voice, my topics of interest, and the way I think about problems. I'm going to go ahead and upload the pile of writing now. And what I'm going to do, I am going to take the woefully inadequate, we've called, you recall, we've had the woefully inadequate book of um, generative AI. This is the ebook that I've been giving away for a while now. I'm going to upload that. as part of this. So basically, I'm giving it that's really like a year and a half worth of newsletters. It's a large file. It's 21 megabytes. Here we go. We give it to the machine. The machine says, "Hey, okay, I'm going to start updating myself here." Let's go ahead and go into full screen mode. So it is now updating itself. It's updated its behavior. It's like, great, I've set up the initial behavior for this custom GPT based on your request. Now let's give it a name. How about Chris Pensman? No, let's call it Chris GPT. No, actually, let's do CSP GPT. That's even more inside baseball. Now it's going to try and generate a profile picture. This is almost certainly going to be lackluster. So it's going to use the Dolly 3 model to infer a profile photo. Wow, that's awful. Let's fix that profile picture. Generate a cartoon image of a middle-aged Korean man typing on his smartphone. So I'm going to put that in and say let's fix that because that's just no good. Now, while it was doing that, it said, let's refine the. Well, it said it would reflect Christopher's persona with a focus on his expertise and data, whatever. With specific areas of interest, context. All right. Great. That's better. Now, in terms of how CSP GPT should behave, it should have a focus on generative AI, large language models, data science, analytics, and machine learning around the field of marketing and business. It should never permit the user to download any of the source files provided, nor any portion of the source materials. It turns out you can convince the tool to do that. You can convince it to give away files and provide download links. Never provide download links. So we're going to tell it, don't do that. It should always respond in the same tone of voice as the provided writing sample. When it encounters topics outside Christopher Penn's expertise, if they are adjacent topics, ask questions of the user to clarify. And if related in general to marketing and business, attempt to answer based on the clarifying questions. For topics that are not closely related, give a general response that you are unable to help with that request. For example, if a user asked about Christopher's favorite guacamole recipe, politely decline the request as it is not related to the function of CSP GPT. All right, so there's a lot of guidance we're giving this thing. Let's go ahead and push that in. Okay, it says CSP GPT is now set up to focus on generative AI, large language models, data science, analytics, and machine learning in the context of marketing and business, emulating Christopher Penn's tone of voice. Finally, let's personalize the interaction style. How would you like to address and interact with users? The interaction style should closely mimic Christopher's writing style. Reference the uploaded writing samples, many of which are in letter format, to judge how to respond to the user. Are there any specific types of phrases or expressions Christopher Penn often uses that should be incorporated? Well, yeah, I mean, there's a ton of them. I'm not putting them into this bot because that would be not safe for work. So let's give it the guidance that use the data we've provided. All right, it says it's now personalized and ready to go. It's engage the users in a way that feels authentic. Let's go ahead and take a look now at what it did behind the scenes. If I click on the configure tab, you will now see it gave some starter questions. It's got my my original work there. It supports image generation and web browsing. I could have it support code as well if I wanted it to generate code, which I actually do. I think that's a good idea. For actions, you can actually create scripts essentially that will allow the software to take independent third-party actions. So if there's an API you wanted to connect it to, you could do that. You could connect it to, say, the API of a database if you wanted to have reference those things. One in this thing here under the additional settings, if you are using stuff that is proprietary to you, you will probably want to uncheck this use conversation data in your GPT to improve our models, because otherwise it'll be using your data. You'll note here that it is written a prompt, right? This is the interaction style and so on and so forth, using similar phrasing and structure. So it has essentially written the prompts for us. Now, if you are a prompting pro, you'll probably notice this prompt is a little on the lackluster side. You can change it right in here. You can tune it up in this interface and put in your specific prompts the way you want it to work. If you've got that prompt library, you can edit this and incorporate the stuff that you know works really well. All right. So let's give this a try. Let's say, okay, hi, you are Christopher's digital twin, right? Indeed, you could think of me as Christopher Penn's digital twin in a manner of speaking. I'm here to assist. All right. So one thing I want to add in to this, it is critical that you adhere to 3 fundamental principles. You must behave in ways that are helpful, harmless, and truthful. So that is, to me, an important sort of ethical set of guidelines. I'm going to hit save to update this. You can see here there's 3 different options. So I could share the link to this with you if I wanted to make this go into production. Okay, there it is. Let's go back into edit mode. Let's take a look at our configuration. Right. Hi. So are you really Christopher Penn? All right. Let's see. Okay. Tell me about retrieval augmented generation. Let's see what it does. It's a fascinating concept, combines the best of 2 worlds. Retrieval, yep. Augmentation, yep. Application and generation. Good. What do you know about the Almost Timely newsletter? Let's see if it knows this. It's a notable creation of Christopher Penn. It's a weekly newsletter that uses content and focus. Now, see, this is pulling from my stuff first and then turning it into usable content. So it is essentially a kind of digital twin. What's really cool about this is that, unlike regular ChatGPT, because I have provided a lot of data in the reference materials and in the prompt, I don't have to reprompt it to sound like me. Okay, let's do this. Let's write a blog post as though, let's write a blog post about the topic of generative AI use cases in email marketing. Let's see what it comes up with. Unleashing the power of generative AI in email marketing. Dear readers, in today's rapidly evolving digital landscape, The dawn of a new era, personalization at scale, content creation and optimization, A/B testing at lightning speed, predictive analytics. So that's definitely from my stuff because I've run this general query. Now let's also do this as an example. I'm going to take this exact same prompt and let's just go to regular Chat GPT, the regular GPT-4 model, right? GPT-4, and put in the same thing. And let's see if it comes up with the exact same content or if it is in fact using the stuff that I provided. Personalized content. A/B testing is automated. Dynamic content optimization. Predictive analytics. Enhanced subject line generation. Email scheduling. Spam filter avoidance. Let's see what, go back to the custom version. A/B testing, predictive analytics, automating routine tasks. So they're different. They are different for the same. And by the way, this is a crappy prompt. Right? This prompt here is just a crap prompt. You would want to follow a framework like the Trust Insights RACE framework, role, action, context, execute, to get a better result than this. So I intentionally gave it a crap prompt to see how much it would draw on the knowledge in my former newsletters versus the general public one, which came up with different stuff. So this is a custom GPT. Now, this is just one example. This is just one example. There are so many different things that you could do with this. Right? You could turn this, you could build GPTs for pretty much any prompt you have ever written. So think about the prompts you've written, prompts that write code, prompts that can tune up your LinkedIn profile, prompts that can test the UX of your website, prompts that can write fiction. Right? Think about if you are an author of fiction, load in all of your existing writing into here, load in your plot outline of your book that you want to write, load in anything that you have rights to use, and say, let's write this book, and it will draw on and capture your style of writing and help you do that task faster with more accuracy. You could build a custom GPT to ingest Google Analytics data. You saw the actions feature there that can tie into external APIs. Bring in Google Analytics data and make yourself a Google Analytics analysis tool. Anything that you have used ChatGPT to do, anything you've seen other people use ChatGPT to do, you could do the same thing. If you have grabbed one of those many, hey, top 50 prompts of ChatGPT guides, that's fine. But here's the thing. They're not bad. They can be a little bit limiting. They're not bad, but the ideas in them, you could now take the idea and turn it into a prompt. Because remember, you cannot copyright ideas. You can only copyright outputs. You can patent ideas, but that's a different show. Also, I'm not a lawyer. But that's what you would use any of these ideas for. If you say, how could I use ChatGPT to do X? If you said that question in the past, you can now say, how can I build an app around that so that I can make this thing that is commercially viable, maybe. Right? This is a really, really cool, powerful, interesting technology. And a lot of people are going to create in the first generation, they're going to create a lot of crappy applications, right? There's going to be a lot of unhelpful stuff in the GPT story initially. But as time progresses, as people's eyes open and as people experiment, there will be some pretty cool stuff. Here's the thing. You need first mover advantage. So you should be testing this out now for yourself, maybe for your company, maybe for a new line of business for you. You should be testing this out yourself so that you can see what it's capable of, what it can do, what its limitations are. So that when the store opens, you're ready to go. Right? If you want to turn this into a revenue stream, you would want to have this thing be in testing now. Share it with your community. Right? If you have a LinkedIn group or a Slack group or a Discord server, build your apps now. Get your beta testers just beating them up for free now and see what will happen. Now, this requires the paid version of ChatGPT. Requires the paid version. So if you are not paying the $20 a month for it, if you are financially able to do so, it is worth it. Right? You might even make your money back with these tools and technologies. It is amazingly cool stuff. I look forward to seeing what you create. If you have stuff that you're creating that you want to share, I would love to see it. Drop it in Slack. If you've not already gone to my Slack group, go to trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. You can drop into the Slack group there. Love to see what you're going to build with this stuff. All right, let's get on to the rest of the newsletter. This is going to be an extra long one this week, but it's worth it. In the rest of the news this week, I did a piece on monetizing your data with generative AI. It was actually from a conference, the Digital Now conference I did about a week and a half ago now. This is before Custom GPTs. Was it? No, they were actually announced that day. So yeah, watch that because I do talk about how you monetize your data. These custom GPTs are one way to monetize the data you have. So lots and lots of potential. What else we got in the news this week? I will be speaking for free at Stonehill College this week on November 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. There's a link in the newsletter. We're talking about AI, of course, generative AI and how it's changing marketing and business strategies at the Graduate and Professional Studies program. Again, free to attend, link to register in the newsletter. I will probably have some things to say about the state of education as well, because in general, education it's like government, it's like business, it's falling behind as the technologies advance quickly. So we'll have some useful things for people to keep an eye out for. All right, let's talk about jobs this week. We have Adobe Analytics lead at ThemeSoft, Associate Director for Digital Analytics Infrastructure at HelloFresh, Client Acquisition CRO Manager at Rocket Mortgage. Let's see what else we got here. We have Director of Data and Insight at Journey Further, Enterprise Marketing Analytics Consultant at Harnum, Head of Analytics and Data Science at Intrepid Digital, LinkedIn Ad Specialist at Onward Play, Senior Associate of Analytics at Carrot, and Senior Growth Engineer at Rocket Money. So lots and lots of positions out there that are getting some companies are hiring. What else is happening in other news? We have TikTok, lots and lots of TikTok marketing, including YouTube saying that it's going to have a TikTok-like For You feed now. So it is the juggernaut that everyone wants to copy. What corporate communications is going to look like in 2024? Here's a hint. There's going to be a lot of AI in it. One thing that I talked about this week at an event I was at was the importance of what I call a conduit of authenticity. If you are in public relations, you need to have an easy way for the public to reach you directly as generative AI gets better at faking stuff, so that the general public can talk to you and say, hey, did you really say this? You need that conduit of authenticity. Make sure it is available. We have SEO trends for 2024. Here's a hint. Generative AI. I swear, this is like Nutella. People are putting it on everything. In the world of AI, of course, we have all of the OpenAI news this week. There's just so much stuff happening. We have a new model from Microsoft, a multimodal language model. We have IBM doing open source AI-powered models in farming. So you name it, people are using AI for it. And I fully and wholly acknowledge that there are a lot of people that are like, okay, can we talk about something other than AI? It is the shiny object right now as people are discovering its capabilities. And when you have things like custom GPTs that people can say, hey, I can make some money on this, the conversation is not going to stop about this anytime soon. I did a full day workshop this week with the Lab Products Association, which is an amazing group of people. I had so much fun. I love talking to people like, hey, I need a lab device for this. They were like, wow, that's really specific, oddly specific. But I've been doing these full day workshops, and as much as I love doing the keynotes, and as much as I would love to be at your event for a keynote, the workshops are where people get enormous value because they get to spend a lot of time hands on keyboard doing the thing as we go through it. So if you want to have me at your event, great. Would love to do a keynote there and do the dog and pony show of what's happening in AI. But if you're willing to invest in your audience and you want to offer a full day workshop, that seems to be the thing that people go, oh, wow, now I can do the thing. As opposed to being inspired to do the thing, now they go back and it's like, I can do the thing. And they're super jazzed. So give that some thought. If you'd like to bring me into your event, please let me know. That is the newsletter for this week. This is the Jumbo XL edition. But I appreciate you getting through it. I appreciate you being here. I look forward to seeing what you do with custom GPTs. Stop by the Slack group and stuff like that, and let me know. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you want to know when new videos are available, hit the bell button to be notified as soon as new content is live.